All right. So for anybody that hasn't been here the whole time, I'm out here in the desert just outside Santa Fe on a beautiful spiritual retreat that Vigili has envisioned and has unfolded with the Divine Mother and is developing. And she has invited me out to meet some of her friends tomorrow for a wonderful chit chat about Vedanta. And then I'll stay on Wednesday. Oops, there's a good wind. And then on Thursday I come back to Colorado. So that's what we're up to. We just finished doing a 3-day retreat in Albuquerque or in Cerritos, no, Corrales, New Mexico, just outside Albuquerque. All right, so it's Holy Mother Monday, Mother Monday. And we are on page 271 of Swami Chaitananda's book, Sri Sharda Devi and Her Divine Play. And just enjoying the description of Mother as the divine incarnation and seeing God as Mother. And we've been talking about all of her helpers that were helping her get things together. And after Sri Ramakrishna passed on, she had to manage the order and manage all of her devotees, which were very large in number, and run her own life, all with no one supporting her initially. Then finally, the devotees got it together, and the young monks realized that nobody was helping her, and everybody pulled together and got her a place to stay, and then supported her, and then recognized who she was. All right, so we're talking now tonight. We're going to talk about Swami Sharadananda, who bears her name. So, of course, there's a very special relationship between Mother and Swami Sharadananda. It says Sharadananda's holy service to Holy Mother is legendary in the Ramakrishna order. Although Holy Mother now had her own place in Calcutta, she was always surrounded by devotees and their problems, and she could not move about freely. Sometimes she felt suffocated in Udbodhan house. Every now and then she would visit Jairambati for a change. When Holy Mother was in Jairambati, Sharadananda would visit with other centers of the Ramakrishna order. Swami Nikhilananda wrote, "To attend Holy Mother with her eccentric relatives was a delicate and difficult task. As she put it, I shall have no difficulty as long as Sharat lives. I do not see anybody else who can shoulder my burden. If anyone spoke of her going to Calcutta when the Swami was not there, she would say, I simply cannot think of going to Calcutta when Sharat is not there. While I am in Calcutta, if he says that he wants to go elsewhere for a few days, I tell him, wait a while, my child. First, let me leave, and then you may go." This is a beautiful ideal here. I was sitting there reading it and thinking, oh, seems so ordinary what Mother's up to, but I realized I was reading about the wrong person. I was reading about us. Sharadananda is playing our role in the service of the Divine Mother, and always thinking of her and always taking care. This is Mother's world that we live in, and all of us, every one of us, are her children. And being a child of the Mother is not a small thing. All of these responsibilities, it's up to you to take care of each other, up to you to meet each other's needs and to be there to encourage each other, and for us to really help each other along on the path. This is our service to the Mother. And so we're reading about how that's done. How Swami Sharadananda put Mother's needs first and didn't consider the other things in his life as important as his service to the Mother. It says another occasion illustrates Sharadananda's tender care for Holy Mother and her concern for him. It was quite cold in November of 1910, and the devotees wanted Holy Mother to have some warm clothing. Accordingly, Sharadananda provided 10 rupees for a warm cotton sweater to be brought from a foreign shop. Delighted, the mother wore it for 3 days. On the fourth day, she took it off and said to her attendant, "My child, it is not proper for a woman to wear this kind of sweater. I used it for 3 days just to please you all." Although the mother did not wear a blouse under her sari like other women, she covered her whole body with her sari by tying it under her arm. During the winter, she used a thick cotton chudder. She maintained her rural way of living and did not care for urban luxury. People were impressed by her inner beauty. That, boy, there in that last little paragraph there was several things. One, mother's delight. If you give the Divine Mother anything, she will use it, and sport it and show it to you, even if it's not the thing for her. She thinks more of your devotion than actually what you're actually doing or what your gift is to her. She sees that first in you. When an enlightened soul, especially when an incarnation looks at you, she sees you in your highest potential. It's one of the most beautiful things about holy people as well, and it's what we practice. And by Mother's grace, one day she'll be able to use us that way, where we learn to see our own divinity. We know we've touched it within. And when we see each other, when we see others, we see that divine self first. And the beauty of that is when you see it in the person that you're talking to, they themselves become aware of it. They see that and respond to that. Even if they've never seen it before, I shared that with Moksha Prana. I had only met her for the first time, and I knew nothing of the Vedanta. I knew nothing at all. I had no practice at that point. I had nothing. And when she looked at me that first time, it was an amazing experience, because most people look at your face and they stop at your face. That's what they know. They know your face. But when a divine soul looks at you, they look at you. They look at the you that's looking through your eyes. They don't look at your eyes. They look through your eyes and they see you. And that wonderful feeling of intimacy that you feel when you realize something you've never experienced before, when you realize somebody's actually looking at you, the very source of you, and that the feeling of vulnerability, the feeling of intimacy that comes with that is overwhelming. And they can change you that way. That's why Mother's eyes, if you look at Mother's eyes, I saw a painting here in Vigili's place that she's just starting, actually. And the eyes are the primary thing already. You can see that last scene, holy look, those watery, clear eyes of a divine soul. And they look at you. I like the picture of Vivekananda also, with his big eyes. There's a picture where he's got a very 70s haircut, it looks like to me. And his very large eyes are very prominent in that picture. And when you look at them, you can really feel that. Swami Tadatmananda also painted a picture of Vivekananda with those kinds of eyes, but he painted Vivekananda standing out at Ridgely Manor with his arms crossed, or Thousand Island Park, I guess, with his arms crossed, and he's got this very mischievous smile on his face, like he's looking at you, the you of you, but he knows your mischief. He's he's recognizing all of the things that you would call your faults, that you would call your shortcomings. But for the divine soul, he knows they're nothing. He knows that in one puff of grace, they're gone. And he finds them, in a sense, don't take any license in this saying, but he smiles at them like a child. I've told that story of that young boy, that video of that young boy that has obviously eaten a cupcake off of the ones that his mother has just made, and he's got icing and sprinkles kind of stuck all around his mouth, and his mother is scolding them, and she's like, "John, did you eat a cupcake?" And John looks up at her and he shakes his head no. And she's like, "Are you sure you didn't eat a cupcake?" He's like, "Yes." "John, I think you ate a cupcake," and shakes his head. It's just, it's hilarious because he's got the cupcake all around his mouth. It's clear that he did it. And that's how it is with the divine, no matter whether we're aware of our stuff or not. Mother knows, and she looks at that and that divine smile, because, I'm not accusing John. I'm entertained by John because there's a sweetness, because his real nature, you know, is there. And mother sees that in us. So she holds the sweater and then she realizes it's a very nice sweater that she's been given, but she's a monk. And so oh, so somebody's in the waiting room. Just a moment.
I think it's Shrikant.
Yeah, I don't see him.
I think he had audio issues. He has to come back in. That's what his message said. Yeah.
There he is. Okay.
Thank you, Swami. I'm back. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, sorry about that. I can't hardly see my screen because of the evening sun here. Let me. The brightness is all the way up already. All right. So, the divine, this is that wonderful comfort that we can have in the divine. That knowledge that when they look at you, they see the highest, and that's how they teach us to transcend, because we become aware, we feel. When they look through our eyes, we come to realize that we are not our face, that we're not our body, that we're not our thoughts. We come to realize that we are something seeable by the eyes of the divine. And that our service is just like what Shardananda here is doing, is showing us that how to serve in this world, to have full devotion to mother and help to tend all of the family, all of the children, everyone, everything, not just people, but everything. Mother was even concerned about the broom in her house, seeing that consciousness has become everything, and to worship that, to serve that. And then now we see her renunciation, that she gets this wonderful gift, but it's a little bit too fancy for a monk to wear. But she wears it for 3 days, right? And then she takes it off, and she was delighted to receive it. So she would never offend you for your service. She would never be picky about the quality of your service. As long as you do it in sincerity and earnestness, as long as you do the best that you can do, Mother is seeing the divinity. Mother's seeing you. And so we see the same in her. It says that she maintained her rural way of living. She was committed to her standards. She didn't get that creep. Didn't happen. When I mean that creep, I mean you buy one thing and then you get the next thing and then you get the next thing, and pretty soon, or you give. She talks about it in terms of getting up in the morning. You let yourself sleep in 15 minutes one day, and for the next 2 weeks, it's more difficult to get up at your normal time than it was before you gave yourself that break. And so to hold ourselves to our standards, know who we are. Don't get caught up in the world. Don't go cutting corners thinking you're doing yourself a favor. There's that idea, Weight Watchers, they teach you to stop seeing food as a reward. It's because it's not a reward to make yourself unhealthy. And so don't treat yourself that way. Don't treat yourself to sleeping in, because sleeping in is not a reward for a divine seeker. These cutting of corners does not make it easier. It does not add to the quality of life. It doesn't make things more pleasant in the long run. So all of this discernment she's pointing at right here. She maintained her rural way of living and did not care for urban luxury. People were impressed by her inner beauty, right? What's that inner beauty there? It's that inner integrity, that being pure, being purely what she was, not following the desires of mind or the desires of body. And that beauty, you know, when I was in India the first time, and when I was telling my friend Philip that I was going to join the order, the reason I told him is because I said I've never in my life been inspired to be old. And I said, on this trip, I've seen 5 people that inspired me to be old, that clearly by the look in their eyes and the way they were able to inspire and affect me, just by the love that they had in their face, I thought to myself, they made me want to be old. And that's how you know that this is the purpose of life. You know, that if you live this life of renunciation and keep your eyes on the divine and stay in full integrity with your divine nature, your divine self, you become more and more and more valuable to the world, to everyone around you, than any young person could ever be. And so this is the purpose of our life, to become great servants of love, to be great surrenderers, great renouncers, doing it effortlessly. On the 16th of November, 1909, Holy Mother left for Jairapati. And on the 14th of December, 1909, Sharadananda bought a small plot of land adjacent to Udbodhan House for 1,800 rupees. With money that the devotees had donated, a few rooms were added to the main house in 1915. See, so probably some of you were there. It's probably some of your money, you guys, that went into the Holy Mother's house in Udbodhan. You know, I say that tongue-in-cheek a little bit, but I think I've shared that story with Swami Prabhutananda. It was my first week or two in the monastery, and I had been reading the gospel, and came to the table, and Swami asked me, "Oh, what have you been doing?" And I said, "Oh, Maharaj, I was reading the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna." And he smiled and he looked at me with that way that he very rarely looked at me, but with that kind of twinkle in an eye, a little bit of mischief. He said, "Did you find yourself?" And I said, What do you mean, Swami? What are you saying? Find myself in the gospel. He said, "Well, don't you think it's strange that you're here?" He said, "How is it that all of a sudden here you are, you know, in the monastery serving Thakur and Ma?" He says, "This isn't your first go around." He said, "You must have been there. You must have seen him. It wasn't that long ago." And so it was really amazing. I assume he was joking, although that wasn't clear that he was joking. But it changed the way a little bit that I read the gospel, you know, and that's why I kind of think I was. I should tell you who I think I was, but I think I was that woman Brigu who stung his foot with like a scorpion when she touched him. Sort of, because this life I could still be described as her. So, you know, but that, to know that, I mean, we're family from way, way, way back. We've been together. This isn't our first go around. You know, we know each other. We've seen each other, and someday we'll know the whole story. But you know, when you read the gospel, just have a portion of your attention looking for yourself. Where are you? It should flicker a little bit of recognition, just to see it. And so then you could find out if you were in fact one of the ones that donated money for Holy Mother's Udbodhan house. In 1918, a devotee from Ranchi went to Jairapati and said to Holy Mother, "Mother, I have come to take you to Ranchi for some days. We have rented a house and made all the arrangements." Holy Mother asked, "Does Sharat know?" "No," the devotees replied. Holy Mother said, "Then I can't go. Sharat came here to take me to Calcutta, but I refused. Let me go to Calcutta first, and then I shall consider if Sharat approves." This is something to remember when you when you do service to the monks. You know, if a monk asks you to get him a sweater, just get him the sweater. You know, don't get him 2 sweaters. Don't get him a sweater and a pair of pants. You know, don't go above and beyond, because for his renunciation, that's not a favor. You know, so just bring what is asked. It's like don't think in the worldly way, where more is better. For a monk, that's absolutely not the case. He doesn't have anywhere to put it, for one. You know, I know we used to have a devotee. I won't name the center because they might actually see this someday. But we had a devotee at a center that I was a part of. That if he was ever shopping in Costco and he saw an orange shirt, he would buy a whole stack of them, and he would bring literally an entire stack of orange shirts to the monastery. And before my first year was out at that center, we had to clear out another closet of old books in order to store shirts and sweaters and t-shirts and pants from his trips to Costco, where he found something orange and just bought the entire package to bring to the monastery. And that the ideal of the monk, Jesus says, do not lay things up for yourself. Let mother take care of the day. Don't lay up things like she's not going to be there in the future. He says, look at the birds of the air. They don't toil or spin, and yet they feed. Look how finely dressed they are. Flowers of the field, they don't work, and look how tended, how taken care of they are. That's the ideal of the monk. For the householder, it's different, because you've got people around you and you're responsible for the society around you. So for you, you can lay up, right? And if I go to Costco and I find a, big giant package of Hershey's Kisses, then it's a good thing for me to buy those for you, because you got to give them to your kids and your neighbors and your all of that. All right, so Holy Mother here, she'd already told Charat that she couldn't travel to Calcutta, and here this person's coming and already paid for a vacation for her somewhere else. And she's saying, no, I can't go. I can't say no to him and then go with you. Let me go to Calcutta first, and then I'll come and be with you. When the devotee left, Holy Mother said to Sharala, look, my child, they think it is easy to take me here and there. They love to create excitement. One time in Dhaka, the devotees printed pamphlets announcing that I would be going there. I knew nothing about it. Anyone can serve me for 2 or 3 days. Is it so easy to carry responsibility for me for a long time? I can't find anyone capable of this except Charat. He is like my Vashuki, a 1,000-hooded mythical snake, engaged in thousands of activities. Whenever rain falls, he spreads his umbrella to protect me. Right? So we don't, yeah, just think about that. It takes a great deal of devotion to serve the mother in the proper way. So don't bite off more than you can chew. Better to be faithful in constancy than to be on and off. Don't get hit with a moment's inspiration and go all in and then last 3 days and then disappear for a month and then get inspired again for 3 more days and disappear for another month. My goodness, I'm going to blow away here in a minute. But your devotion should be steady. It's the same in your practice, because that's also service of the mother. In your practice, don't go and do a big whirlwind, meditation for 2 or 3 hours and then miss the next 3 days. Better to do 2 minutes every day, constantly, steadily. Better to choose, to do a small thing at the monastery and do it regularly and long term. Don't go in and weed the entire garden in one day and then disappear. Better to go back and, weed a little bit every day. We should be steady in the way that we serve the mother. And then all of our work accumulates. You do that little work each day and somebody else does that little work each day. And then things get done. That whole garden gets done and it stays done because you keep doing that little bit. If you go and do the whole garden in one day and disappear for 3 months, who's going to take care of the garden? It'll become a problem, having to constantly find people or then realize, because somebody comes to do their little plot and the whole thing's already done because you did 1 day of zeal, and then they don't have their contribution, so they don't come back. They're like, somebody else is doing it. I don't need to do it. So pick your service, Do your practice. Don't be heroic in them unless you can sustain that heroism. You know, there's a story of a sadhu, a wandering sadhu in India, that was walking along a road, and it was pouring rain outside, and he had no umbrella, and he was getting soaking wet. And a bus driver was passing him and saw him and thought, "Oh, I'll offer him a ride." And so the bus pulled up next to him and opened the door and said, "Can we give you a ride?" And the sadhu said, "Can you give me a ride tomorrow as well? Or the day after, or the day after that?" And the bus driver was, "No, no, we can just give you a bus ride now." And he says, "Better than I not indulge in a bus ride, and then I'll resent the rain tomorrow. But thank you." You know, and so he doesn't get on the bus. He stays walking in the rain because that's the level of the life that he's at. That's where he's at. You know, and it's that acceptance. Be where you are. You know, be where you are. And that's also how we control our collecting of things. You know, live as you are. You know, the new iPad came out this week. And I was suddenly thinking how desperately I must also run to get a new iPad. But you can see from here how absurd that is. You know, everything is perfectly fine. So we should not follow our desires, not do what is easy, but pick your devotion, pick your service, pick your practice, and be steady, and grow it slowly over time. That's a kind of practice that won't wear out. That's a kind of practice that won't fall over. So that's what she's saying here, but she's saying it from her perspective as the Divine Mother. You know, it's difficult to serve me. Don't do more than you can at one setting, and then lose the steadiness in it. Sharadananda was proud of his position as the mother's doorkeeper. From his small room to the left of the entrance to Holy Mother's residence in Calcutta, he kept an eye on the devotees who went upstairs to pay their respects. It was not an easy task. Surendranath Roy, a young medical student, used to visit Holy Mother every week. One day he walked several miles under the scorching sun to see the Mother in Udbodhan. He arrived at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was very hot. Holy Mother had just returned from a devotee's house and was resting. When Sharadananda saw Surendra going upstairs, he stopped him near the steps and said, "I won't allow you to go up now. Mother is tired." Surendra answered, "Is she only your mother?" Practically pushing Sharadananda aside, he continued up the stairs. Very soon, Surendra felt repentant for his rash act and prayed that he might avoid the Swami on his way out. He told the Mother about his bad behavior, and she reassured him. Sheepishly, he came down the stairs and found Sharadananda seated in the same place. Surendra bowed down before the Swami and asked for his forgiveness. Sharadananda embraced him and said, "Why do you talk about offending me? Can one see Mother without such yearning?" I love these stories, you know, because they're so human. That man had walked so far to see the Divine Mother. Nobody was going to stop him from seeing the Divine Mother, even Swami Sharadananda, a direct disciple. You know, and so this is the way. You know, if you're going to go to the temple, there is room for that kind of attitude. Be discerning, because you see, he didn't do it out of arrogance. He didn't do it out of disregard for Sharadananda. He did it out of love for Mother. He did it out of his desire to see the Mother, to see the divine. And so keep that focus. You know, make sure that what you're going to do or what you're setting out to do is out of that zeal and that love for the divine. And then you'll be fine. Then you get some authority of your own. You know, then you can just push past and say, "What is this? Is she your mother only?" No. Then you push past and go upstairs. And then also it's a lesson for Sharadananda, because the paragraph starts saying that he was proud of his position. So he was exercising his authority out of a love for authority. Even Sharadananda, that's another warning right there. How carefully we have to watch our mind. And that's why we go inward. You know, during practice, that awareness that we're doing, those things get revealed to us in that awareness. And so when you see it, understand it's there. Just the awareness itself will take care of it, right? But that's the necessity for awareness. That's why when we practice, we're trying to be keeping the mind as quiet as possible. Why? Because the noise in the mind is what prevents you from seeing your divine nature. The noise in the mind is what distracts you from seeing the beloved, and also from allowing these things to be changed in yourself. If you're chasing thoughts, then that awareness isn't being spread around. That's a crazy way to talk about awareness, but it doesn't get around to everything else because it's being focused on all these other things. And so let that silence come into the mind so that you're aware of everything in there. And in that silence, when your vices begin, they start very small, just like a spark out of the fire. And if you have quieted your mind to the extent that you can see those desires start as a spark, then the awareness itself will snuff them out. Just seeing them, Maya becomes embarrassed in the light of divinity. Maya itself will snuff it out. But once that spark gets into the bushes of other thoughts and memories and starts to catch a blaze, then it's very difficult to get it out. That awareness will have to be applied again and again and again, and discipline and renunciation will have to be applied. But if you get your mind quiet enough, you can see those desires when they're only a spark, and just noticing them will snuff them out, be enough. It was not an easy job to be Holy Mother's doorkeeper. Sharadananda was sometimes humiliated for protecting Holy Mother, and yet he endured everything calmly. There's how we do it. Everything calmly. I hear stories about people cooking in the kitchen and somebody offends somebody, or somebody bring something for Durga Puja and only a portion of it gets put on the tray, or somebody brings something and it gets put in the refrigerator for another day, and they're up in arms, and they're so offended. There's a fight in the kitchen over which direction you should turn the spoon when you stir the soup. And this lady knows that, this man knows that. And that's not how you do it. Calmly and quietly, with humility, you do it. And you accept. It's that practice of non-resistance in life. Accept what the day brings to you and make gold out of it. He endured everything calmly. On the 2nd of January, 1917, Swami Premananda asked Dhirananda to accompany Dhirendra Kumar Guhotakurta, a young man from Barisal, now Bangladesh, to Holy Mother to be initiated. Dhirendra recalled, "I was about to climb the steps of Mother's house to see the Mother. Revered Sharat Maharaj was writing at his desk in the entrance room. As soon as I neared the steps, he loudly said, 'Who's going upstairs? The Mother's health is not good. Don't go.' He came forward to stop me, but I was so obstinate that I went upstairs, pushing him aside." Here we go, the second one. Poor Sharadananda. Pushed him aside. The Mother was then performing worship. Looking at me, she realized that I wanted initiation. She told me with a smile, "Come tomorrow." The next day, the Mother initiated him. So, and that's this time, Sharadananda was vindicated. Come tomorrow. On another occasion, when Holy Mother was ill, a prominent devotee came to her and asked for his brother to be initiated. She asked him to come a few days later when she was feeling better. However, the man insisted. She asked him to speak to Sharadananda about it. "I do not know anybody else," he insisted again. "I have come to you. Please initiate my brother." "What do you mean?" the Mother replied. "Sharat is the very jewel of my head. What he says will be done." The devotee went to Sharadananda and reported to him what the Mother had said. The Swami then fixed a date for the initiation. Right? So that's there. In a sense, I think Mother didn't want to be the source of the denial. because she's the Divine Mother. But it was important not to do it that day. And so she got somebody else to tell him. Despite Mother's affection for him and confidence in him, Sharadananda was extremely humble. Once he was in his office about to begin work on the Lila Prasanga, when a disciple of the Mother prostrated fully and took the dust of the Swami's feet. The Swami humorously asked, "Why such a big salutation? What's the idea?" "Maharaj, why do you say that?" the disciple replied. "Whom else should I salute but you?" The Swami said, "I'm seated here awaiting her grace by whom you have been blessed. If she wishes, she can this very moment seat you in my place." Aha. The source of his humility. Knowing, one, that he existed because Mother gave him that existence. He got to do what he got to do because Mother allowed him to do what he got to do. And he could be replaced on the spot by an army of people like him the very next day if Mother willed it. So in our specialness, because, we talk about the fact that we can all be God's favorite, right? Because God's love is infinite. And so being God's favorite does not diminish anybody else being God's favorite. We can all be happy to be his favorite together, right? But if you think that you're God's favorite because of your accomplishment or because of your style of work or because of your way of doing things, and you have forgotten that you are God's favorite only because of the love of God, then you're in trouble. The ego begins to grow. And if it's growing because you're a great devotee, then becoming a great devotee is inhibiting your growth in spirit, So humility, when humility isn't there, when our pride steps in, our growth freezes, And if we become proud of spiritual things, we're in a very precarious situation, because then the things that are meant to bring you to God are things that are taking you away from God. And that has to be addressed immediately. So never forget that, yes, you are the favorite of God, but it's not because of the qualities of you, but because of the quality of the love of God that you're his favorite, that he accepts everything in you all the way through. And so our beauty is not because of achievement, it's not because of accomplishment, it's not because of talent, it's not because of steadiness or faithfulness or any of those things. Our beauty is because of the existence of the image of God within us. It can never be taken away, it's true, but it can never be attributed to the ego self either. And we should never forget that. And that's where humility is born. And in that humility, we find union, we find togetherness. We enjoy God in that state. There's that story with the gopis dancing around the fire in the woods, and they all felt that they were God's favorite, and that was fine. And then Krishna picks Radha up and carries her off into the woods. And as he's carrying her off into the woods, she thinks to herself, "Oh, I'm the real favorite." As soon as she had that thought, Krishna disappears. She gets dropped to the ground, very unceremoniously, and is sitting there, because that's how it is. Ego blocks you from seeing God. So don't become proud of attributes and accomplishments and achievements, or where you are in spiritual life, or how much meditation you're doing, or how much you've memorized. If you do that, you can't see God. You can only see your achievements. You'll be left alone in the woods, right? And then if you're looking at your achievements as being the great thing, you'll think doing more achievements will bring God back. God never left you. You just can't see because you focused on your achievements. You're focused on who you are, and not on what you are. Right? You are a child of the Mother. You are the image of God, and that's your beauty. It's not what you're doing. When Sharadananda prostrated himself before the Mother, as a witness observed, it was an unusual sight. It was as if he melted on the ground before her. He showed with his salutation that he offered his body, he offered his soul. He offered everything at her feet. You know, this is how that is done. You know, if you're going to salute the mother, or if you're going to salute the divine, or if you're going to salute the divine in a Swami, or salute the divine, you know, in a holy man, you don't just casually bend and swing your hand over. You know, it should be an act of focus. And you should understand that it's a surrendering of yourself. It's not just a salutation or a greeting. You know, it doesn't mean you have to go all the way down and do it fully in its time. It's not the matter of the show of it. It's the matter of what's going on inside. There are times when it's not appropriate to lay down on the floor and take the dust of the Swami's feet. You know, there was a devotee when I lived in San Francisco who came and stayed at the monastery for a while, and you know, he would come up for all of his meals from the old temple, and he was in this habit of every single time he would come up for food, which was, you know, like 4 times a day he would come up there. Every single time he would come in and he would do a full Ashtanga Pranam on the floor, you know, in front of Swami. And, you know, the brahmacharis who were bringing out the lunch and the other guests who were there, who were trying to get their places to sit down, always had to stand and wait for this gentleman to finish his pranam. And it happened for like 2 or 3 days in a row. And then finally Swami had had enough. And he said, see, you may do this once when you arrive, and you may do it once when you leave. You know, no more is necessary, right? And so be aware. It's like, don't go overboard on these external things. All of this, the important thing is happening on the inside. You know, the humility happens on the inside. It doesn't mean that you have to go and wipe your face on the floor every time you see the Swami. You do that inside. You know, you do it the first time, and then after that, you do it inside. You know, that sincerity is easy to see, and that's where it's beautiful. If you keep doing it externally like that, it's in danger of becoming a show. It's in danger of becoming a demonstration, you know, and that's not necessary. Mother sees the movement inside. She doesn't need the externals. The externals are for us. Sharadananda poured his heart and soul into serving Holy Mother, in addition to performing his duties as the General Secretary of the Ramakrishna Order, which was a very heavy responsibility. Furthermore, he lovingly looked after the welfare of the mother's relatives. He nursed her younger brother when he was dying, and made provisions for her niece, Radhu's financial security. So you see, our devotion to Thakur Ma and Swamiji, it isn't just to a picture. It's to everybody who loves them. It's to everybody in their care, you know. So we love Mother by loving each other, right? That's what that whole thing means. The worship, the highest form of worship is the worship of God and man. You know, that means that we don't just do it in the shrine, and we don't just do it in symbolic ways through puja, that we do it by helping each other, by being available to each other, by caring for each other, being attentive to each other. You know, that this is the way God is worshipped. And so we have to be careful, because a lot of times we turn the temple into the whole point, and we will travel all the way across town, you know, to go in and bow down before the shrine, and then we'll drive all the way back across town, passing homeless people, you know, getting impatient with other drivers, and you know, all kinds of things like that, forgetting that your service to the divine doesn't just happen in a temple, and doesn't just happen symbolically, and isn't done just at the time of your practice. That your worship of God and your practice happen every time you're conscious, every time you're awake. Everywhere that you go is your opportunity to worship God. You don't need to run across town to go to the temple to bow in the shrine. You can do that, but don't forget that you've passed a million opportunities on the way to get there to do the very same thing, and perhaps in a way that would have been deeper and more meaningful both to you and to the Divine Mother. So don't get sidetracked with religiosity. Always remember to be the saint that they see you to be. And you never forget that. You always are trying to live that and to be dedicated to that service so that it's always on your mind. For more than 15 years, Sharadananda had the unique privilege of being close to Holy Mother and looking after her needs. How small he felt in her presence. Once he remarked, "What can we understand of Mother? This, however, I can say, I have never seen such a great mind, and I do not hope to see one. It is not within our capacity to comprehend the extent of Mother's glory and power. I have never seen in anyone else such attachment, nor have I seen such detachment. She was so deeply attached to Radu, but before her death she said, 'Please send her away.' Radu lost all attraction for her." You see, this brings up that point that Vivekananda makes. It's important because we talk about detachment all the time in a positive way, and then we talk about attachment in a negative way. And it's not because of that attachment's bad and detachment's good. It's because we need a perfect balance between attachment and detachment. We practice detachment because we easily attach, right? So we have to practice detachment so that it matches our power of attachment. That's the ideal. The ideal is not detachment. It's not that we sit uncaring on the front steps, not attached to anything in the world. It's that we attach to people to love them and to serve them. And when the time comes, we detach equally as easy. We let go. And so love deeply. And when it's time to let go deeply. This is the ideal. All right. We're going to stop there because I'm getting warnings of a low battery. And I don't want that to